The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Watch live at 5 p.m. weekdays on YouTube. Join the conversation on 0808 17 17 700. Talking Scottish football first.
Good evening, this is Paul Cooney. How lucky are we? The next 2 hours with two international stars of the past. Craig Moore, the Socceroo, who's with us, former Rangers star, and Peter Grant of Celtic and Scotland. Evening, chaps.
Good evening, Paul.
Paul, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you. If only tonight we're coming live from the new camp, or the Camp Nou, because we've done it before over the years. No Scottish team in the Champions League. Celtic didn't make it this year. I'm not going to go on about it, but we're looking forward to Newcastle playing at Barcelona tonight. And when you saw the goal, Eze, last night, of Arsenal, 2-0 win for them against Leverkusen. Peter, you must long for that, the European Cup.
Well, that's what everybody wants to be involved in, Paul. To do that, you've got to win your domestic.
Yes.
That's what we said, and even that now doesn't get you there now, and that's a big disappointment, because they nights are something special. The best players are playing with the best clubs, and you want them to be coming to Glasgow.
It's the highest level, isn't it? I know you played at the World Cup. In club football, Champions League, it is the creme de la creme worldwide.
Absolutely. There was some fantastic memories in those kind of nights for myself, Paul. And there was some real harsh experiences as well, because of the calibre of player and teams that you're coming up against.
Who is going to win it? I wonder. See, Real Madrid last night, they were a good price, but yep. Man City well out of it. Chelsea thumped last night, but good one for Arsenal. Mikel Arteta, we mentioned him as a former adopted Scot. He came here as a young, a 17-year-old, didn't he, Craig? You played alongside him.
Yes.
Arsenal manager. I mean, they go on and on about the quadruple, and if they do that, amazing. But what, to get the Champions League or to get the title in England, and he'll be made, I would think, he has to get one of them this season.
Yeah, listen, I think with Arteta for a number of years now, he's shown that he was able to get close, and this season's about being able to get over the line. And if he is able to do that on a couple of different fronts, even better. But he will go down as you know, a really great manager. I mean, Arsenal have had Arsene Wenger for 20 years, so they've had fantastic managers. But if Arteta was to win the Premier League, that would be absolutely enormous, I believe.
Amazing, Peter, isn't it? He came in as a young player at Rangers, did really well, and then moved on.
I think it was Big Alec that brought him in, actually.
Was it?
You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well done to Big Alec. John often listens, his boy. Maybe Alec does as well.
No, that Big Alec deserves great credit for that, bringing him in. And it just shows you about spotting players. It's important. But I think he has to win it, because they've spent a hell of a lot of money as well, Arsenal. You know, they're a massive club with massive support. They've got so far. And if they don't get over the line this time, because it's not been a great Manchester City season, it's not been a great Liverpool season. So you're looking at it and think, this is their best chance. I genuinely think if he doesn't win it this time, there'll be massive questions asked. Not because of the way Arsenal have played throughout the season, just because he's not been able to go over the line. And I think Craig touched on that there.
Yeah, and I just remember, Peter, in his early days when he went in there, obviously a great pedigree and I guess great education working with Pep. But he had a really poor dressing room and environment, I think, at that time at Arsenal. And he had to really make sure that he got rid of players that I don't think were good at that time. So he's had a lot of tough decisions to make. He's been close.
Yep.
Now can he get over the line?
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're talking about big players like Aubameyang. Remember the problem we had with him? Who was the captain at the
Aubameyang,
time?
He was a Brazilian as well at one stage.
Sure.
Yeah, I forget the Brazilian with the hair.
I know exactly.
I forget his name escaped
But you
me.
have to
I
deal with
apologise.
that, and he's quite willing to deal with that with top players, because he was one himself.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
not be kidding. So you know what's expected in a dressing room, because you have to have a team, Paul. Individuals win you games. It's teams that will win you tournaments and trophies.
Yes, Peter.
So we
Love
get a
that.
kilt on every single story. You know, that's what you do in journalism. Do you know that in Glasgow? If you're working it, you have to get a kilt on it. So we got in the headline tonight, it's a former Rangers star could get to, well, whatever Champions League. It could be a quadruple. Somebody who did go to the Champions League after winning at Leicester, Kasper Schmeichel, the Celtic goalkeeper, he admitted to CBS Sports last night, I could potentially have played my last ever football game. The issue with the torn rotator is worse than they thought. You could kind of see it, Peter, couldn't you, for a few months, that he wasn't what he was even a year before. But it looks as though, well, he'll certainly be out for quite some time. And, you know, maybe that's the last we will see of Kasper Schmeichel.
It's a shame it ends that way, you know, because he's had a wonderful career and he's a really good Celtic goalkeeper. But he has been struggling, you know, and I think the time came that the manager had to make a decision, because it was either Kasper had to go and get this checked, or it was his performances were really struggling. and the manager had to make a change, and the manager's done that, and Sinisalo's come on so far and not done anything wrong. But for Casper, a bit disappointing for him, because he's got a chance to still to go to a World Cup. I know they've got a playoff, which that will definitely not happen now, but reading between the lines. So it's a shame to end his career like that. He's had a wonderful career, won the league with Leicester, which will be remembered forevermore, and that's great credit to him for his professionalism.
He's had a long career, and any player that is able to sustain it for that long, and at the levels that he has, is quite incredible. Unfortunately, and I've known a few players where potentially their last game due to injury report. It's never a nice way to potentially finish your career. But at the age that he is at, and to potentially be out for a year, it's not a good sign for him.
10 to 12 months of rehab, and he's 38, 39. That must be really, really tough. And why not go out on a high? Double winner last season, could have been a treble, and maybe the clue was there in the cup final that he just wasn't what he was because he got that bad injury with Denmark. But what a player he's been. Celtic fans, what do you think? And Sinisalo, is he the answer? And he is doing well for Celtic so far. Who is going to blink first? Hearts had a tough weekend, 63 points. We all know the story now. Celtic, a win for them, 61 points. Rangers, a win, 60 points. Is the title going to stay in Glasgow? Craig Moore, 08, 17, 700. What do you think?
Again, I think I potentially change every week.
You do? That's right.
Every game.
So I think last week you thought Celtic would be the favourites. Would that be right?
I still believe that Celtic probably close, but favourites. Hearts are going to be in there swinging right to the very end. Rangers also, but I just feel that Rangers are probably going to come up short.
And yet just 8 games, right? Danny Rule has come in, did so well. Up until March has been tough for him, okay? But he got that win. It was ugly at the weekend. It wasn't a great game, but they got the points. He just take the word just. But we'll speak about Elijah just in a moment, who is on his radar.
Yeah, he goes all right. Yeah,
8 games and he's immortal. Not quite immortal, but he writes his contract for the coming years then at Rangers. He kind of needs to get it, and why wouldn't they?
Well, like I says, I mean, the 3 teams are in with a right good chance, and you have to say it's in their hands to a certain degree, if not fully.
Yeah.
Now, what I will say is for Hearts, Celtic and Rangers, every game, I don't see blowouts, Paul. No. I see really tight games for the remaining eight fixtures. They're going to be arm wrestles.
Celtic blowouts, you mean no doings? That's what you mean?
There's going to be no tonkings. There's going to be no tonkings.
We know that one in this show.
I just feel as if every single game between now and the end of the season is going to be hard fought, and teams are going to be at their have to be at the absolute best to get over the line. Hearts
at home to Dundee this weekend. Now there's a fixture, Peter, that you'll remember in 1985. Rangers at home to Aberdeen in the evening, and Dundee United Celtic on the Sunday. More and more people are talking about the timings of the games. Celtic game at the end of the weekend, lunchtime on Sunday. Rangers Saturday night, and Hearts Saturday at 3:00. Does that suit Hearts, do you think?
Yes, it does, because the bottom line is, Paul, I've been involved in it when I've come back with Tony. And you were talking about you always played on the Sunday, but Rangers had always played prior to it. It's when the game's tight late on, and if you're playing last, and the game's 0-0, for instance, and there's a nervousness in your support and whatever. It's interesting, Hearts' last 2 games, I think they've played after Celtic. They lost to Rangers, and they lost to Kilmarnock.
Right.
So
pressure.
I always think there's a different pressure for your support around about, because everybody knows the result. So I definitely think there's an advantage. But you're talking about the manager. For Derek, it'll be unbelievable to win the league for Hearts. Martin O'Neill, this will be his best ever for Celtic.
Best ever.
I think without a shadow of a doubt. The performances the teams were given to go and win the league in the circumstances, this will be his best ever.
Ahead of his treble year at the beginning, when he came in and he said Rangers are the benchmark, remember?
But hardest, without a shadow. But you think of the players he had then compared to now. And that's not been disrespectful, it's fact.
Sure.
And Danny Role, I think that could be Rangers' best ever as well, because to come from where they were points-wise, behind Hearts, I'm not talking behind Celtic, I'm talking behind Hearts. You'd be thinking at that time, Hearts could only throw it away. Yeah. Now it's back to 3 points between Rangers and Hearts.
It's back in the mix now, isn't it?
It's massive now.
Which is great for us. This is great for the media and all that sort of stuff, to be able to talk about a title race that, with 8 games to go, is going to go to the wire. I think we've seen too many times where the seasons have finished far too early, and therefore that excitement in terms of what you're watching to the end of the season kind of drowns out a little bit.
Elijah Just, so we've been talking about him, did so well at the weekend for Motherwell, the Kiwi who has settled in so well in Lanarkshire, and Rangers reported to be interested in him for next season, Craig.
And so they should be, and I wouldn't be surprised if Celtic as well would be interested. That's the type of season that Just has had. I think he's, in the Premier League, 27 games, 7 goals, 7 assists. They're very, very good numbers, 25 years of age, great energy, and great composure in front of goals. But he's a good footballer who also fights, and these are qualities. Plus, if you're shown you can do it domestically, if Rangers and Celtic hadn't noticed it, then there's something really wrong with those two football clubs.
I watched him closely on Saturday, and what he does really well, and he put me in mind, and I'm going to talk about probably my hardest opponent, even though it wasn't directly against him, was Ian Durrant.
Yeah.
He puts me in mind of Durrant, his timing of his runs, because he watches where his players are, he watches where the opposition runs, and once he's sucked towards the ball, he makes the runs. Yeah. And Durrant was brilliant at that. There's no doubt, Mike, and that's what he puts me in mind a little bit. He's a clever player. He works really hard for the team. He's intelligent. He's technically good. All these wee things, and as I say, having that football brain, and I'll give credit to Motherwell as a team because they all move that way with each other and it suits them. But his timing was excellent because he was waiting in a rojo getting sucked out.
Yes.
Then all of a sudden he would run off. The defender think, well, what do I do now? The centre back. So his timing was excellent, and Durrant was brilliant at that, and that's who puts me in mind a little bit. He's running off the ball.
Well, Craig, you know how big that statement is.
That's massive because obviously Durrant was a teammate for a long time, and I seen the Durrant after injury, and I still felt he was incredible. But Eliza, just his story's quite incredible. He went like from semi-professional in New Zealand. I think he then moved to Holland. So again, the kind of education that the players get in Holland, and you can see it. But he can run, but he loves to combine. He loves to play little 1-2s, and his movement's very good. He's been excellent, and he's at an age where I think Motherwell are in a situation where they'll be able to benefit on a good transfer. Sure. But I still think there's another move for whichever club come into buying potentially.
Ian Durrant was still a brilliant player after the horrific injury. But before it, Peter, I was lucky enough to watch him as covering them. He was absolutely phenomenal. Him and Paul McStay.
Yeah, well, Durrant was weird because he never played like an outside left. It was just in off the line a little bit, even though he was the widest midfield player. But me as a central midfield player, you're watching your central midfield player, but Durrant would run in behind you. And it was impossible because then you would give the midfielder too much space because you'd drop off because you could see his runs, wee things like that. But his timing was impeccable, and that's what I liked about Just at the weekend. I seen that. He had a good football brain. He was watching things happen, but he was also watching his opponent. And as I say, Ian Durrant, for me, people talk about the Gascoignes, everything like that. Durrant, for me, without a shadow of doubt, domestically, he was the best player that I played against.
Technically, Durrant was incredible. Again, like I said, in my experience and my time with him, he didn't love me because I used to boot him up in the air at training for fun. And I go, oh, man, stop dribbling with it. But his technique and his touch on the ball, and just in really tight situations. I actually remember watching, I think it was a Champions League game and all that. Rangers are under pressure, and from 4 yards out, heading it back to the goalkeeper. Like just big player that not in height, but just backed himself. Technically amazing.
Robin's on saying I also really enjoyed in those days Derek Ferguson. And was Derek just ahead of Ian, probably slightly older? And what a player he was as well, Barry's big brother.
He was a terrific player. One of the hardest to play against as well. We grew up together. Derek and Ian were in the Scotland younger teams and all that together, so I got to know them very well. But two terrific players. I was surprised. Derek had a couple of injuries as well, but he definitely could have played in any Rangers team. And I mean the very best Rangers team. He could have played with him consistently. He could have been a player right through all that time. He was very, very unfortunate. As soon as made a decision, the likes of, God rest him, Ray Wilkins and all that came in, and they sort of moved Derek to the side a little bit, and the injuries didn't help, but Derek was a top quality player.
And he went to Hearts, of course.
Yes,
Yeah,
that was Rangers reserves at the time.
Yeah, back in the day, was it?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Peter Grant,
Still say they are.
yeah. And Peter Grant, who went to Norwich because of the colours as well, didn't he? 08, 17, 700. Paul Cooney, Craig Moore, Peter Grant for the next couple of hours, an hour 45 to go. Lots of calls coming in. Jamie's been on from Airdrie saying, do Celtic need a full rebuild in the summer? Jamie, I think probably there is going to be a big one. What do you think, Peter?
I think there's definitely going to be big changes. There has to be. Players will go out of contract, obviously. There'll be a lot of loan players. But you're right. I think, as I said, last season I felt that a player for each position. The best players in Scotland. I thought Celtic had the best first team and so sort of subs as well.
Sure.
That wasn't
Do you think
the case.
that now?
No, I don't. I think there's other players from other teams that get into the Celtic squad now, and that's the difference. And they've not played at their best either. But I think sometimes you wait too long, Paul, which I believe's happened this year. They've waited too long because you need to galvanise your players, and I keep saying the ones that's there doing exceptionally well for you. People think buying players means you're fed up with other guys that's there. No, you need to galvanise them. You need to build that dressing room and bring better players on because all the other players respond to better players. And Celtic will definitely do that.
But on that, Granty, like we say a lot sometimes that maybe a player potentially stays at a club too long. I was at Rangers for a long time, as you were at Celtic. But I also think that the same thing, that clubs hold on to players too long, right? So you look at Hatate and you look at Maeda. Yep. Now they've both had potential opportunities to leave the football club. Then there's the transfer, or for whatever reason it hasn't happened. Maybe because Celtic haven't been proactive enough in the market, and then you're kind of dealing with the disappointment of that situation again. So there was a lot of talk after the transfer window about how disappointed and potentially Maeda's attitude, Hatate's attitude. Sometimes a club can hold on to players too long as well.
Yes, I agree with you 100%, because I think the big thing for me is you're looking at Hatate and you're looking at Maeda now. I believe the last couple of games, that's when they've looked as if they've had more energy in the last couple of games. But not only that, if you watch the game, and I know we talk about the bad things that happened at Ibrox, Maeda ran to the supporters. If you remember, everybody, they were all around there. He was running to support. And it was the most I've seen him celebrate. I don't see him celebrating like that for a goal of his own. But it was the most I'd seen him celebrating. And you could see that in his performance at the weekend again. I don't mean technically, but his work ethic at the weekend again was back to where he was. Hatate's last few games, Martin's managed him fantastically well and gave him that responsibility, and he seems to have attained that. But you're still waiting in that, come on, give us that big performance from the team. Because I thought Muller were very good for big periods in the game. But I agree with Craig in the respect to that I said last summer, even though he'd scored 34 goals, I'd have sold him then. Yeah. Because it was big bucks.
And they should have.
Yes. Because you were never going to get that again, because it was one of these seasons, because you know players, don't you, Craig? You know what certain guys are going to do. If you get 34 goals, I believe he should have scored a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
But you're saying to yourself, will he ever do that again? And it's proven no. So I think if you get top buck for him, you've got to take it. And Celtic are usually very good at that.
Craig, I'm only smiling because everyone else says 33 goals last, but Peter Grant's records say 34. And he was going. Look, he was packed up, ready to go end of August, and then he got the word.
Sorry, and I think, again, it's sometimes hard, and the players sometimes take the brunt at times, because clubs want to make sure that they're set, right? And I so in those two scenarios, Celtic weren't set. So, of course, they're not going to let what they believe to be valuable players. But again, you're left with sometimes a little bit of damage. And sometimes that, you know what it's like, Peter, you have a player and maybe his attitude and it's not fantastic. It can spread through a dressing room really quickly. So Celtic have done really well to manage that. But again, I think clubs probably at times hang on to players too long.
But they probably could have kept Ida. I know he's a different player, but they shouldn't have sold him.
I would never have sold Ida.
Exactly.
And I said that at the time, even if I was getting money offered for him. Yeah. And I was still keeping the eyes on Maida, and I'd have definitely kept Adam Ida in the building. I said to you, I thought he'd a poor start, because I think pre-season he was left out a little bit longer because he'd played with Ireland. I'd have definitely kept him in the building. He'd have been more important, I believe, in that period. If you're looking for goals, if you've not got a goal scorer, then Maida would have been.
He's a goal scorer.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. That's what I feel.
The rebuild for Celtic in the summer, and who is going to be in charge? And what about Rangers for Danny Rule? 8 cup finals. He said 9 to go. They won the first one. And what about Hearts as well? West of Scotland boy Derek McInnes. I think a part of everyone would be really pleased for him. I know the neutrals all say they want it to be the Hearts, but as a Glasgow station here, the voice of Glasgow in the West, then you would imagine we're rooting for one of the Glasgow teams, Peter.
Yeah, I'm looking for
I'm not
Falkirk
sure.
if it's no Celtic.
Might be a little bit too much for Falkirk, who have had an amazing season.
Sure.
But I just think it's exciting, Paul. That you know that they're all in with a shout. Cup finals, been in that situation, a title running, and just in terms of the mentality of that running, the 2002-2003 season when it was joint points, Rangers and Celtic.
Last day of the season.
But the mentality was, Paul, not about whether we were going to go and win games of football in the running. It was how many goals we were going to win by.
Yeah.
I don't see that with any of the three teams at this stage.
See, Albert Kidd's in the papers today. He lives in Australia.
Yes, he
and he's
does.
talking about that year. Do you think it's that? He says he thinks Hearts are going to do it
Paul,
this time.
I was at a function in Dundee, a Celtic supporters function, and
Not like you.
Albert was asked
Oh, right.
to come, and he came, and he was like Don Johnson. He came in with a white jacket and that one. You know, I thought it was Miami Vice. He's changed completely. I didn't know who it was at first, but it was great to see him. And listen, it's fantastic memories. But see, talking about that game, I didn't realise all day, because I keep saying Hearts would went in a 22 game unbeaten. It actually went 27 league games unbeaten.
Wow.
And 4 cup ties, because they got to the final, if you
You know
remember,
the
against
bonus system
Aberdeen.
they were on.
Yeah, but they went 4 cup ties, so they'd went 31 games unbeaten at that time. So they lost the league, obviously, at Paisley, and then they lost at Hampden against Aberdeen the following week.
That's right, yeah.
So 31 games, I mean, that was incredible when you look back at that team, how far they'd went. But that's why you've got to keep digging, and I think Celtic and Rangers have done that. You know, they've kept fighting. They've not played anywhere near the capabilities. They've kept fighting, and Hearts have been up there getting results, and everybody didn't expect them. And this is the time it counts. This is the time it counts. What you've done prior, it's an 8-game season now. That's what it is. And that's the way it becomes.
0808 1717 700. We're back after this.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
Stephen and Zoe was back this morning. She wasn't feeling so good yesterday. Back in like a trooper, Craig, a bit like yourself.
Got to keep at it. Got to keep at it.
You know, I don't know why I threw that to
That's
you.
all right. No, just got to keep on going.
That's all right.
Keep
Get a
on
bit
going.
of Scottish in there tonight. What's going to happen? The countdown is on. 8 games to go in the Premiership, and of course the Cup semi-finals as well. And then the World Cup. We're going to talk about the World Cup shortly, because Stevie Clarke's been speaking to the media day before yesterday. We talked about it last night as well. One of the things he did say, there's always room for young players to come through. Well, he did, but
There's always room for someone else. There's always room for an outsider. Off the top of my head, probably 4 players that would have been in this squad if they hadn't been injured. So immediately that's the squad up to 30 players. If you had 26 plus 4, I believe it's 30. Is that right? Back at school.
Yep, Stevie, always that wee bit acerbic. But the big talking point, and we'll come back to that, about young players. In fact, let's do it now. Peter, do you think there are some young players that come through? Obviously, Ben Gannon Doak would be one of them.
Yeah, there's not been many when you look through the group. You know, they've all been there over the course before. And there's a time, I thought, when he went to Germany, I thought he'd have taken them then, the likes of Lennon Miller. He's probably played less minutes this season, and he's in the squad. Yeah. And that was what we're crying out for last year, because he'd had the experience at a tournament. And I think that's what we're saying. We're not telling Stevie who to pick and who not to pick. And it's the same with Finlay Curtis. I think he's been outstanding with Rangers, and Barry spoke highly of him. I thought he'd done really well with Rangers. He's went, obviously, Neil Nat's taken to Kilmarnock. But if I was Calvin Miller, I'd be sitting in the house really upset, because he's been performing all season, especially when you're talking about age and whatever. I still think, listen, you've got to perform to play for Scotland. That's usually how you get picked. So he's done it the full season. He's not done it for a couple of months. You know, and I think I'd be really disappointed if I was him. Wow. There's no doubt in my mind of that.
He could have been on his way to Celtic, although he's doing brilliantly, obviously, Calvin Miller.
Yeah.
Young players coming through, we just don't get enough opportunity to see them. It's one of the things people have criticised Stevie Clarke about.
Yeah, listen, it's always been difficult. And I remember a good number of months about Ben Doak saying X Factor, and he was ready to start. You know, so now obviously the opportunity for Finlay Curtis, and can understand sometimes other people probably miss selection, Paul. And again, sometimes it's a club that you're at, if I'm being honest. You know what I mean? So with Finlay, I know he's at Killy, but he's got Rangers on loan and all that sort of stuff. And I think sometimes that generates more interest than a Calvin Miller at Falkirk, which I think in terms of his form, absolutely. I mean, there's only one person that decides that, though, is Steve Clarke. It's a good opportunity to have a look at players. Is it the last opportunity? Probably so. also with the two games.
Because the April one will be too late. He spoke about Finlay Curtis.
So he was quite direct, tries to make things happen. I went to watch him live at the weekend. I thought he was decent. Everybody keeps going on about me. I don't evolve the squad or change the squad. I've always tried to introduce young players when I feel it's the right time to introduce them, and Finlay fits into that category. He didn't want to sit on the bench at Rangers and get 10 minutes here and 5 minutes there. He wanted to go out and play 90 minutes every week, and that's a big thing for me.
Been a wee bit defensive there, Stevie Clarke, isn't he? Just a bit sensitive, maybe.
Yeah, but he's right.
Okay,
to be questioned, because he didn't bring Miller and that, and at the time they should have been. You know, there's no doubt in my mind of that, because the experience would have done them good. Because, please believe me, half of the players that went, he knew they wouldn't be getting on the pitch. Yeah. Anyway, you know, so why not take a younger one that's with outside your group? And if you don't think he's good enough to go on, but the experience would have been unbelievable for him, because some of them weren't getting used, and Craig's been in a lot more international squads and tournaments than I ever have. And that's the point I'm making. So at the end of the day, Scotland going to the World Cup is not a trial. It's to put in a performance, because
what you've already done.
Yeah, and the Euros were nothing. Yeah. That was really disappointing. You don't want that disappointment again.
I agree. Stephen's been on from Falkirk saying, what about Barney Stewart for Scotland with the way he's playing? Yeah. I mean, what a story. 8 goals. Incredible.
Again, scored a great header.
Didn't he?
Takes up great positions, gets on central defenders' shoulders, profile. It's got size. Yeah. I can understand why he's not in the squad, though, because it's been very quick in terms of the rise. But he's certainly somebody that you have to monitor. What I'll say is, you go to a World Cup, any national team, they'll always take a wild card. Mm-hmm. There's still time for all these kind of fringe type of players, in my opinion, to make sure that maybe it's them that gets on that plane.
Peter,
I've been really impressed with him. I watched him at Dunfermline. Probably never get as many chances, but you know what I love about him? He keeps getting in that box. Yeah. His goal last week against Aberdeen, even late in the game, was an excellent header, because it's easy to watch the defender. You know what it's like when the defender's in front of you, take your eye off the ball. His header was excellent.
His timing
was brilliant. But he's always between the sticks, Paul. And I always say to you, what you notice about good strikers, they can finish off their first touch. They don't need a second touch. And he's always seems to be in that position. His attitude's excellent. It seems to be that type. He seems to enjoy that. Leading Falkirk's line, you know, and a team that's done exceptionally well. But he came, if he going out and loaned to Dunfermline, getting called back, you know, and it wasn't easy for him to go. People forget, it wasn't easy for him to go to Dunfermline, because there's a great rivalry between Dunfermline and Falkirk as well. You know, so you've got to go and perform that wee bit even extra. Yep. So his work ethic was excellent, and then he get called back, and he's been first class. So I think it's a very good point, you know, that he definitely should be in the reckoning, because he scores goals, and anybody that scores goals should be in the Scotland squad. And I'm looking at it. Shea Adams, not a lot of goals. Tommy Conway, not a lot of goals. Finlay Curtis, not a lot of goals. Lyndon Dyke, not a lot of goals. George Hurst, not a lot of goals.
There's a common theme here.
No, but you know what I'm saying.
I know.
So how are you going to win games?
Sure.
Yeah,
you need a goal scorer.
His positions he takes up is spot on. Yeah. He's in about that six yard box. You know, he's scored a lot of tap-ins. I've seen a highlight reel of his goals and all that sort of stuff, and he's not scoring bombs outside the box, right? But he's making life difficult for defenders. He's scoring the easy goals, but you've got to be in the position.
A sniffer. That's what
I like.
One of them that bounces off him, he's rolling into the net off the keeper's hands or whatever.
Who was like that when you played? I'm trying to think.
Every striker I played with.
Coisty.
Every one of them.
McCoist.
Of course.
But you name McCoist. But then I go Mo Johnson, Brian McClare, Andy Walker's comes on here, Frank McAvenny's. You keep going through them all. All of them. George Cadet. Every one of them, Paul, could score off their first. Coisty was the world's worst, because we could be drawing 0-0 and then all of a sudden we get beat. Or if it was another game somewhere else, we'd have already won. Yeah. Rangers are drawing 0-0 and come up 1-0 Rangers. We didn't even need to ask who scored.
They're saying that with Coisty though, and you played against him certainly a lot of times. Peter is. He could score those tap-ins, right? He could miss 3 sitters. Yeah. He kept getting in positions to score goals. But saying that, Coisty could score the outrageous as well. A bicycle, I think it was in Hibs in the cup final. Goal against Switzerland in the Euros when it was too late from outside of the box. Coisty had a good range of finishing.
No, absolutely.
Surprisingly, he just faded away. You never see him. You never hear him. I'll tell you what.
What do you mean in size there?
Steady. His work ethic, though, I'll tell you, for young people, somebody to work. Do you know what I heard him saying once? I asked him, it wasn't my interview. I would never get one that good. But we interviewed him often. And he said, I never stopped dreaming about scoring goals. I kept dreaming, thinking about scoring more and more and more goals. Could you remember the time when he was called the judge? Because Souness left him on the bench so much.
Just before my time.
Yeah. So, do you know what I mean? He didn't get it in silver platter.
But even prior to that,
Yeah.
Paul, I remember at Ibrox,
Yeah.
they were all singing Ali, Ali, get to France.
Were they? Yeah.
You know, but it wasn't France
Yeah,
that
yeah.
were singing.
That's why I jumped in there.
This was the Rangers supporters. But the thing was, nobody was unbelievable.
Yes.
He was one of the players, and I always say to young strikers, look in the defender's ear, because he was never offside then. He used to sort of look in your ear as if to say, right, well, the defender had to step back so he could see him, or vice versa. And as soon as you take your eye off the ball, he came across the front if you're in behind you.
He loved opposites.
He was unbelievable, wasn't he? He was unbelievable, and he was
No.
an unbelievable
I'll explain that in a
striker.
minute.
Yeah, yeah. What do you mean?
No. So again, like when I was a young lad coming through, obviously in the defensive part of the field, and Coisty in terms of his movement, he just says never play my first move. Right, so if I'm coming short, I want it long. If I'm going long, I want it short. And I'm saying his movement in the box, his first move might be as if he's going on the outside of the defender to then get across him. It's very hard to defend, really, really hard. But another quality that Coisty has always had, Coisty's a fighter. He's a fighter, you know. So he had again times before I arrived and all that, done it tough and all that sort of stuff. He was a right competitive person. And I've seen him go off a couple of times with Big Stephen Presley and all that. To be fair,
To be fair to me, I lack confidence.
yeah, no, he definitely struggled there. But he was a fighter. It's a
It
mentality.
was, yeah. Frank McAvenny. It came to it late how good was he instinctively?
I would probably say Frank was a combination of all the players together.
Yeah.
You know, when I talked about Charlie, you know, Andy
Nicholas.
Walker as a striker, you know, Mo Johnson's, George Cadet, I thought Frank had a mixture of them all. And that's why I would say he was probably the number one striker, Brian McClare, because he could run, he was powerful. You knew you were playing against him as a defender. He was tough as teak, you know, but he could finish, you know. And he was a wonderful, wonderful player. And listen, he went to West Ham and nearly won the league with West Ham United. He scored about 20 goals or some 20 odd goals. And unfortunately for the television, highlights weren't on at that particular time. Remember, they'd fell out with them.
Of course.
And then they were on to the last day to Sir Kenny scored at Chelsea.
Right.
And that's Sir Kenny was the player manager at Liverpool at the time. He scored the goal for Liverpool to win the league, and that's what done West Ham out it. And Mac had scored, he was the top goal scorer. Him and Tony Cottee had an unbelievable partnership. So he's revered down there, but he was a wonderful, wonderful striker.
Charlie Nicholas wasn't far off it. His first season, when was that? 82, 83. He scored 50 goals. The Cannonball Kid. James Sampson called him the Cannonball Kid, and then Champagne Charlie, but he was the Cannonball Kid. Greg, do you remember him?
But of course, I remember him, but it was a time when I wasn't here. But again, I was going to ask Peter in terms of Charlie Nicholas, McAvenny, like who. I mean, because I know both in terms of seeing bits and pieces, but obviously it wasn't when I was kind of playing.
Charlie was unbelievable technically, not the quickest, but he just dropped the shoulder, Craig. It doesn't matter how many times you knew he was going to do it. He could just go 1-1-1. And if you remember the one at Ibrox, actually, the 4-2 game, and he cuts and drives it away. But he was doing that week in, week out. He scored a wonderful goal, was it for Scotland against Switzerland?
He did,
was it? The one, the two-touch one, and he put it in, and it was an unbelievable finish.
Yeah.
And Maka scored a big goal against Australia, actually. Remember
85.
the playoff game?
All right,
in
Peter,
the playoff game, but that's what I'm saying, they'd all different attributes. You know,
why is Scotland not producing those type of strikers?
Exactly.
well, I was just writing that down there, and I'm looking at the Celtic and Rangers game. I think there was about 2 Scots or something.
There was
three
one
Scots.
Scot at the start,
Yeah.
Luke McCown. It's a shocker, isn't it? I mean, we all sit here. It's great, all these different players come in. What's happening? Where's the
I
pride?
told you.
I know.
Paul, one answer.
Yep.
Too many kids sitting on the benches at these younger levels. There's 8 substitutes. You're talking. That's including a goalie, I think.
sure.
So you've got 8 players sitting on the bench for both teams. So there's 16 players. You know, and listen, we keep giving people time and saying to them, "Oh, you get so much time." And I keep saying, if you keep doing that, you had to earn it when you were a youngster. Even then, you know, you had to play. You had to try your best to get into the team. And if you didn't get picked.
Sure.
But there was other games going on. There was other teams you could go and play for. And that's what players done. They went and played, and then they would get picked up somewhere else. And they would have a career. I look at it now, and it's fearful for me now. Because I look about it and I think, right, where's the next Scottish boys going to come through? Where are they going to come through? Because we're not seeing them. We're talking about 23 and 24 before they get into first teams. after luck.
I know we talk about young players.
Yeah.
Look at Max Dowman the other day, 16, back at school. But up here we go on. Yes, we were talking about a 22-year-old player, young player. Yeah, it's not that young. Look at Lamal and all the rest of it. We're going to have to take a break shortly. We did start this one about Stevie Clarke. Shall we hear him before the break about his future? Because today there's some, it looks like some briefing in the papers where they're saying we're not going to be rushed, the SFA chiefs, rushed into a new contract with Stevie just yet. But here's what he said on Monday.
Like I say, I've been here, there and everywhere. I've had a very brief conversation with Ian about what they want to do moving forward. But from the last time when we spoke, nothing concrete to say this is happening or that's happening. I'm really comfortable. Should he stay or should he go? Really comfortable. We had an open conversation. I think I said it a way back, 25, 75. Probably go 50-50 now. But I think I'm waiting on the Scottish FA now coming to me and saying, look, this is what we see as the future. And if I'm part of that, then we can have that discussion. The thing in my head is what do I do next? Where do I go next? What's next for me? I've qualified for 3 tournaments out of 4. I think that's a pretty decent record. Obviously, I'd like to do a little bit better in the tournament this summer, but that's something that we can address when we get out there. What's next? And the Scottish FA, I've got to think a little bit about what's next for them. Do they think that I'm the guy that can go forward and progress the squad into the next tournament? So that's what they have to decide. I've just got to sit and wait and see if any club jobs, if anybody approaches me between now and the end of the season, and then I'll have a decision to make.
Well, indeed, and we're going to pick up on that straight after this short break.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
What a day weather-wise today. Hint of spring in the air for sure, Craig Moore. Almost Australian weather.
And a lot better than the last few days, Paul, let me tell you.
Sure is.
A lot better today.
Peter, live from the new camp, or the Camp Nou, I don't mind what you call it.
New camp for me.
Old Firm, Glasgow Derby, who cares? And that's kick-off there. Who's going to win tonight, Newcastle or Barca?
I just think Barca. I'm looking at Eddie's team there. He's playing a lot of, not playing with a striker really. He's playing with 3 quick lads up front, and that tells you they're going to be doing counter-attack. But to counter-attack, you've got to get the ball.
Yeah, sure.
And that's the secret of it. But Barcelona have still got top quality players. But listen, Eddie will be very, very well organised for that. He's a very well organised coach, and he's using the pace thinking they'll have the ball that Barcelona push so high up that they'll be able to get in behind them. So it'll be a very tight game, but I think Barcelona will just edge it.
Keeping the kilt on it, of course, he could have been at Celtic in 2021 before Ange came in. Craig, what do you think for this one? Newcastle against Barcelona?
I think Barcelona will get over the line tonight. I think Newcastle have been very good, and the game's well and truly alive for sure, but I think Barcelona will go through.
From the Catalan capital, who is going to win at Real Madrid, through already Arsenal, through Bodo Glimt. That was a bit of a surprise last night, wasn't it? They were 3 up and then a tonking. They're out.
That was an out. Yeah, you've got to feel from though, Paul. You
course.
know, like 3-0 up in the first leg. Everyone was talking about how, and they've been amazing from their budget, the league that they're in, and all that sort of stuff, and gone in against the big clubs, got to a decent stage. To go out in the way that they did, hugely disappointing for them.
I'll tell you what, great credit to Sporting. They were brilliant.
Yeah.
I watched the game. They never let them breathe. They never allowed them to play forward. And to be fair, at one stage, I think it was at 1-0 at the time, they hit the bar twice with a header, Bodo. And you're thinking to yourself, maybe that's a wee bit of luck that they needed to score then. But then they'd never let them breathe. Sporting Lisbon scored great goals, but really played on the front foot and put in a big performance, lifted with their support, and thoroughly deserved it on the night.
But that's the thing, Paul, as well. See the big European clubs that have that vast experience. First 20 minutes in the first time, by the way, Sporting were decent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Didn't get the goals. But at 3-0, normal clubs panic. Not the top clubs to come back and turn that around is remarkable from Sporting.
Are Liverpool going to turn it round tonight? They're only a goal down. They're at Anfield, of course, against Galatasaray. Craig, what do you think? I know it's at the weekend to lose that late goal to Tottenham.
Yeah, but listen, I don't have a lot of confidence in terms of it's just been one of those type of seasons for Liverpool. But tonight, I will say that I think they will turn it around, Jess.
I agree.
Yeah. Be great for Slot for Liverpool if they surprised everyone, because they've kind of been written off. They were champions last season. We can't minimise what happened in the summer with Jota. There's affected them.
100%, Paul. And I think people forget that.
Yeah.
That's our teammate in the dressing room. The supporters sing at 20 minutes at every game.
Yeah.
All these things. It's been really, really difficult. But I watched them all night, and I must admit, I was watching Jamie Carragher talking about the game and them not running back, and I tend to agree with them. Yeah. The only thing that disappoints me, they keep getting back to Klopp. That's gone. I mean, it's like Steven Gerrard used to talk about Liverpool all the time, and Jurgen Klopp used to drive me mental because he's played for Rangers.
He was a
Rangers manager.
I know.
You know, so at the end of the day, talk about this manager, say how well he did last year, and that these are circumstances, maybe this player's not playing well. Listen, we can say the same about Celtic this season. You know, they've not played as well as they did last year. That happens. You know, and we know there's definitely circumstances, and I'm sure that was the exact same for Liverpool.
Yeah. Bayern will go through, obviously, they're 6-1 up against Atalanta, and Tottenham 5-2 down. They're at home tonight. It's not going to happen
against
Atleti, as they call them now, Atletico Madrid.
No turnaround there, Paul.
Peter, you're not having that Atleti stuff, are you? Atleti.
Listen, Simone will not allow that to happen. He'll be going to the park himself.
And who's going to win it? Jamie's on asking, guys, who's going to win the Champions League? Who do we think?
I think Bayern.
Bayern, right, okay.
I'm going to go Real Madrid.
You go for Real again? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. 08, 17, 700. We're talking Scotland. We're talking World Cup. We were talking Stevie Clarke. Craig, what did you make of what he was saying just before the break? Then we heard him speak about. Well, he was really open, wasn't he? He spoke about what the SFA want to do.
Yeah.
Had one conversation with Ian Maxwell. You heard the story. He then talked about his own possibilities as well.
I think there's again, I don't know Stevie Clarke, but I think there's a desire to get back into club football. So yeah, there's obviously going to be certain discussions around about that. Paul, it's not unusual for a national team coach to go to a major tournament with his contract coming to an end either. I'm pretty sure the national team coach of Australia is in the same situation. Right. And again, I think that's quite common. It's about what's next. A couple of times I've heard Stevie Clarke in the last 6 to 12 months maybe mention that there is a desire to get back to club football.
Yeah,
his stock is quite high at this moment in time.
The most successful Scotland manager.
Incredible. He's done an amazing job.
Yeah.
But on the younger players, Paul, as well, that we touched on, and Grant, you also touched on in terms of the national team. Listen, first and foremost, national team comes on the back of doing well at club. Yeah,
Peter, a goal.
Barcelona. Yeah. There you go.
A brilliant goal. Fantastic play all round. The turn in the middle of the pitch. Sent the player out the new camp. I don't think he's back in yet. Yeah. And that's the quality that Barcelona have. But a fantastic pass. And you talk about 3 and 4 passes and the ball ends up in the back of your net. And it's just wonderful, wonderful play. And it's a worse start, but probably Newcastle could probably have looked at.
How could you do that when you were making such a great point there, Craig?
No, but that was a great goal.
Wasn't it? Yeah.
In the greatest competition.
That's Rafinha, isn't it?
Rafinha, what a player, yeah?
Just saw on the telly.
Has he got the armband as well? Is he captain?
Oh, he's been captain
yes.
maybe for about 14 months
now.
now.
You thought you were going to say like 2 years or something
like
that.
Walter Smith said
look at that turn there. Look at the turn. Oh, the big boys are way back.
But with the amazing, and this is top level. This is why you love watching this kind of stuff.
Sure is.
But obviously the listeners aren't maybe watching.
No, because they can't see it exactly, Peter. Remember.
But yeah, on the younger player, any player, right? Yeah. Again, and this is where I think comments from Kvanchka were taken out of context, Peter, that we kind of agree with. Your international football comes on the back of you doing your job and doing it well at club football, right? There's not a player that doesn't want to represent their country. In terms of younger players and how you blood those younger players at the right time, Paul, again, I think it's like club football. See, when you've got a team that's going well, on the back of, say, successful qualifying campaigns and all that sort of stuff, you can never make too many changes, but you can always drip 1 or 2 in. Yeah. You can always do that. But you can't be seen to show the platform of the national team, like Peter touched on, as a little bit of a trial. It's not about that. You're either good enough for your country or you're not. And then it's about the manager picking the right time.
Peter, you've been there with Scotland with Alec McLeish not that many years ago, just before Stevie Clarke came in, and we know he's the most successful international manager in our history. 3 tournaments, we know that. What do you think is going to happen? What do you sense?
The only thing I'd be concerned, I'm putting the Scotland hat on now, and I'm talking to Stevie as wanting to keep him as boss, I'd be looking for an answer saying, what you want to do? We'll start negotiating and talking about contracts. Okay, well, no, we've got a tournament. But we can't be waiting to see if you're waiting a club side come in. If the right club side comes in, you're going to go. We can't wait that length of time because all of a sudden we're getting at Euros and whatever. And for me, being the manager of Scotland, it must be the highest accolade you could possibly get. I always dreamed of playing for Celtic, knowing that if I played well enough, I could get a game with Scotland or whatever.
And you did.
And then getting up as being an assistant at Scotland as well was an unbelievable dream to get that as well. So I can only imagine how proud Stevie is, and he deserves all the accolade he gets. But I wouldn't let him be dictating to me
No.
who's going to be what he thinks is. He's saying, well, I'll wait and see if a club or somebody phones me about a club.
But we don't know if he is or if he isn't.
Well, that's what he said.
Well,
He did.
there's not a contract
But
for
you
him.
said there, I'm waiting to see if I get a phone call as well. Maybe I get a club side. You can't have that. You've got to make a decision. So why would I offer you something then, Paul, and then you go and utilise it with somebody else? You know what I mean?
Leverage.
Exactly.
I love the way he picks up on the things that I completely miss.
but all
No,
these
you're
wee
right.
things,
No, I
and
get
th-
it.
Because
Craig,
Scotland
yeah.
is an unbelievable job.
Sure.
You know,
Of course.
but Stevie's got to make a decision what he wants to do, and I'd be saying, what you want to do? Are you want to be the Scotland manager, or do you want to go back into?
There's
club
going to be a
football?
rebuild needed. Sorry, Craig, you were going to say?
I think that these discussions need to take place not now, because I think it becomes a distraction. Right? I think that they need to be agreed that, you know what, we're going to sit down immediately after the competition and decide what we're going to do. I just think that other conversations prior can be distracting to what the aim will be. And by the way, and you're talking about now regular qualification, all that sort of stuff for Scotland, qualifying won't be enough. People want more than that.
Sure.
Can we
Yeah.
get out of the group?
Win our first game, and we should get through. That is the case, isn't it? Not
well,
definite,
well,
but
it's
yeah.
ideal draw, Paul. If we could
Yeah,
have picked
sure.
the draw the way we wanted it, this is the draw the way you wanted it. You know, and it's never easy to win a game at football. There is no getting away from that. But this is if we could have handpicked it and said we want to play Haiti first, you know,
sure.
this is the way we'd have wanted it to fall. And it goes into that last game, then you're thinking, wow, we could already be through,
Sure.
which was quite incredible for Scotland when you're saying that. They could
course.
already be through before the third game, you know.
It's only Brazil.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I mean, Paul.
I know.
That's exactly what I
It's
mean.
brilliant.
It's brilliant
Yeah.
you're in that position.
Sure.
Brazil are hard. But I remember under 20s World Cup, we played Brazil in a semi-final.
Where was it?
It was in Olympic Park in Melbourne. We ended up losing 2-0. Paul, I could still be playing that game today and we were never scoring. You know, like one of those ones where you just you were chasing the ball. There was no way you were winning the game. Brazil's a tough game at any level. At any level. But what Scotland need to do is show that they want to have a go. Unlike the was it the Euros when it really was a disappointing watch, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. The German game was a big disappointment because I believe we had the players that could have affected them.
Yeah.
And I genuinely thought going into that game, you could get away with at least a point. And even though Germany were a top quality side, but we made them look even better.
Listening to it all and I hear what you say, it sounds to me as though he'll move on after the World Cup with the thanks of the whole nation.
Absolutely.
You can hear he wants to do better than ever. If we qualify, I was lucky enough, as you know, to cover the World Cups for a number of, well, everyone since go back to Spain, 82 under the late, great Jock Stein, probably the greatest Scottish manager, alongside Alec Ferguson, obviously the other of the greats.
Yeah.
And if he does that, it's time to go. And then, because a lot of work has to be done, because it's aging teams a bit too much. But you know, the young players coming through, they've been brilliant. But there's going to be a job to be done to find the Scotland team for the future tournaments.
Paul, Euros start in September.
Yep.
So you're right into it. It's not as if anything else. You know, the seasons are hardly started. You know, clubs are getting back together. You know, you're looking at it and you're thinking, well, we've got to go again because it doesn't stop for you. You know, you don't get a breaking in period. And you know what our supporters, the Scottish supporters are like? We demand success at a level. You know, when there's certain teams you're playing, you've got to win. And Stevie knows that because he's done a remarkable job. Then had a few bad results and everybody's wanting him out. Yeah. So it doesn't matter what you've done past. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter.
No.
That's
forgotten. You're right.
It does the exact same at club football. People put you up there and say, well done.
Pressure builds, though.
Yeah,
Pressure
absolutely,
builds
sure.
because
Absolutely.
2006 World Cup, Australia got there, right? For the first time in 32 years, qualified, right? How we qualified? I mean, Croatia, Japan, last game, Brazil, right? We qualified through the group. Go to 2010 World Cup. It's like, okay, well, you need to go further. The pressure keeps building.
And that was Australia with
Absolutely
no disrespect.
Because we're higher than Scotland rankings as well, Paul.
Thank you. Craig, he was great in the first one, but that's it.
He's had to go. He's had to leave the building.
I'm under pressure to take us to the news, and then we're back. You know the number 0808 17 17 700.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King. Watch live at 5 p.m. weekdays on YouTube. Join the conversation on 0808 17 17 700. Talking Scottish football first.
Yeah, we are indeed. Paul Cooney here with Craig Moore and Peter Grant. We're also talking Champions League. Newcastle, they equalised a few moments ago, Elanga, but there's been a goal a moment ago, just seconds ago. It's 2-1 to Barcelona.
Yeah, I think it was Bernal that got it, Paul. It was really poor marking for a set play. It was on the second phase of it, obviously. It's come back across the goal. And Eddie will be really disappointed because I know he works really, really hard, but you watch where it ends up. They drop too early. One of the players drops too early. Then the ball's headed back across and nobody's moved in to defend it. It's a real disappointment for a defensive point of view.
Yeah, because it's a free header in the first place, and then a comfortable finish for Burnell. So, yeah, shows you blink in football. You can miss plenty. 2 goals there.
Who's going to be in the Champions League from Scotland next season, if indeed anyone is? Is it going to be Hearts? Is it going to be Celtic? Is it going to be Rangers? This weekend, you know the story. Hearts against Dundee. Rangers, Aberdeen on Saturday evening. Hearts, as you know, is 3 o'clock on Saturday. Then Sunday, Dundee United against Celtic. Other games, Falkirk against St Mirren. St Mirren without manager. Craig McLeish looks as though he'll be in charge again this weekend, unless there's news before the weekend. Kilmarnock against Livy.
Massive game.
Isn't it? For your old
Killy.
teammate. Yep.
It is for Livingston
Of course,
as well.
yeah,
of course, but Livingston.
Exactly,
I think
sure.
Livingston are going, but a massive game for Kilmarnock.
And a great game as well, Motherwell against Hibs for the purist. Peter up there at Fir Park, because Motherwell, everyone says will have a say.
I think there's no doubt of that, Paul. I think Motherwell, nobody will look forward to playing against Motherwell because the way they play, and I know they take chances at times, but they've thoroughly, the best 2 teams I've seen at Celtic Park this year have been Motherwell and Dundee.
Yeah, well,
Dundee was the best performance. They were excellent, and Motherwell twice I've seen them now at Celtic Park. They're the best 2 teams I've seen at Celtic Park.
And Dundee is where Celtic will be this weekend, and the following after the
Dundee
break,
United, and they're Dundee twice.
Of course, that's what I mean.
2 weeks in a trot, Paul. They've got Dundee twice, Dundee United, and then Dundee, obviously. But it's tough. Listen, there's no easy games, and the nerves are always going to kick in now. You need your big players to stand up now, big performances, and that's what we've seen that with Celtic players. We've seen it for Rangers because that's an expectation at a football club. Hearts, we've not really seen that yet. Yeah. We don't know what they're going to be coming, and they could surprise everybody.
Lord Shankland will be back.
Absolutely,
Devlin.
massive players. Yeah, massive players.
But that can also, again, like it says, I mean, top of the table. You think you're coming back with 2. Is it Shankland, potentially Devlin, all that sort of stuff, and then all of a sudden it can tilt you a little bit. Hearts. I mean, you're talking about the earlier kickoffs and all that sort of stuff. Hearts will be desperate to go and get a result against Dundee, which will be extremely hard. But they would be absolutely delighted if they're in a position where they can sip a Coca-Cola after getting 3 points. And I say Coca-Cola now, it was beer, right? Yeah. Watching those later games. Yeah. That would be a fantastic position for them to be in. Just a quick wrap on the league. Hearts, if they do it, you've got to say, by the way, amazing job. Well done.
Of course.
Well done on the budget and the amount of change. Incredible. If Celtic were to win the league, Paul, this season, I think it would be incredible because I think it's a poor squad. I really do. I think it's a real poor squad in terms of Celtic standards and what's been there. I think anybody would agree with me that it's not the strongest squad. So to win that would be amazing. Not amazing for me, but amazing for Celtic supporters, and it would be huge. For Rangers, there's been a big investment in the squad. There's been a huge investment in the squad. They're close. That hunger and desire will want to go and win that title. I just don't think there's that consistency in the arm wrestles that are going to be there between now and the end of the season to get over the line. I would love to see it, of course. I'd love to see Rangers win it. But that's my kind of rundown on the 3 clubs in terms of how it'd be enormous for every single one of them for different reasons. But I think if Celtic were to win it, Rangers will absolutely be kicking themselves because I don't think Celtic have got the squad. And
what would the effect be on exactly Danny Rule? The story is Rangers 13 points behind Hearts when he came in. Yep. They're not anymore. Right? No, it's just they're 63, the 61, 60. So if Hearts win it, I kind of get it. Yeah. My question is, and for Danny Rule, and a positive for him to try to win it is, if he doesn't win the 8 games, you win the league. If he doesn't, and Celtic nip in and win it, when Celtic are not what they were a year ago, then what will the club do then for Danny Rule? Because they need to invest more money in the team, because most of it wasn't his team. We know the story. So do you invest again with Danny?
You have to. In my opinion, you have to, because I strongly think change again would be wrong. Because he has shown huge improvement. You touch on the 13 points and all that sort of stuff. He's shown signs of improvement. You've definitely got to give him time to be able to try and potentially, if that was the case, Paul, get more players in, which is more backing to get a team that can try and get that success. I don't think change would be a good thing for Rangers.
Peter, what about that from, my question about Danny?
100% he's got to stay. I think he was the appointment they deserved to get. He's done a remarkable job considering where he was. It doesn't matter if you're Rangers, it doesn't matter how much you're going to spend. You've got to remember that the negativity that was round about the club before he came over. Yeah. So you've got to try and build that confidence in your players and try and get the fans back on side. He's done that remarkable. That's why I find it quite surprising that Rangers fans are having a go at him at certain times, because I'm thinking, remember where you are. I know it's about getting results, of course it is, but if you'd have said to Rangers fans, you're going to be sitting where you're sitting right now when Danny Rose came over, they'd have bit your arm off. There is no doubt in my mind of that. And he has to go again. Martin's slightly different because we know Celtic have had 4 managers this season. That's a completely different scenario. You'd never have thought that with Celtic or any shape or form. So for them to win it, that's why I'm saying it's the best. For Danny Rose, I think it'll be the best that Rangers have had for the position they were in to come and go and win a league. And Hearts are sitting there now saying, well, how do we handle this? Because you said 12, was it in front of Rangers at one stage? Was it 10 in front of Celtic at one stage? Not
going to get a better chance.
Absolutely. And still in pole position. Yeah. And I'd rather be in Hearts' position than Celtic or Rangers' position. There's no doubt in my mind of that. But this will be the time, because I said to you, Paul, it's an 8-game league now. Yeah. That's all it is now. And you've just got to focus on the next one. And then there's an international break, I think, after that.
That's right. Yep.
So you want to get an international break,
of course,
with a win.
That's such a downer if you don't.
It's a win. Because if Hearts win and Rangers win, then Celtic lose. Yep. That's a full turnaround again. Yeah. But you could say that about any of them.
Of course.
And that's what you've got to look to. And that's what everybody will be desperate to do this weekend.
Here's Danny Rulli was asked about, how's your confidence, your belief that you could win the title?
Honestly, our performances in the last couple of weeks, even the result was not there. I felt how strong we can press. We have a physical side. We have weapons in front. We can score nice goals. And if you bring all this together, then we can win a lot of games until the end of the season. We are happy today. I think after 3 good performances without the right result today, we took the result, and this is the most important. When you go in cup finals, it's about winning games, and today we won the first cup final.
And his team's response at the weekend after the draws?
It was the result today. I felt this in the morning when we meet each other. There was so much energy in the dressing room. It was fantastic. There's so much belief in our group. There's no doubt that we can achieve something this season. But you have to take the results, and today we did. I think the table now looks better than before this match day, and this is great.
As a Rangers legend, you'll be hoping that the belief is there, that they can go on and win these games and win the league.
Yeah, and your manager is front and centre, and it's really important to that messaging, Paul, in terms of that confidence. And Danny Rulli seems extremely confident there. Obviously excited about the games that remain. I don't know about talking about. I mean, we know that they're cup finals and all that sort of stuff. The energy is good, the desire is good. My concern with Rangers is that I think the type of games that remain, I think they're all going to be tight games, right? And when you have to, you need to unlock the door. You need to be really creative in these kind of real tight-edged matches. That's a concern for me with Rangers. I think if they go on physically steamroll teams, different story. But if they don't win that ascendancy early doors in games where they're on the front foot and they're bossing a game, if it becomes an arm wrestle, that's where my concern with Rangers comes, because I don't think there's enough creativity and enough chances in matches to win games consistently. Only talking about 8 games, but still consistent to the end of the season.
You both said this time last week on this programme that James Tavernier should come into the team to give some of that creativity. And he came in at the weekend, Peter?
Yeah, I think if you're playing with 2 strikers, Paul, Sterling's probably a better defender.
2-2, Newcastle back in it again. This is a belter.
Alanga again. I never seen the goal, Paul, but I see him celebrating, looking at Lamina, like as if to say, what's happened here? Didn't track him, did he? No, listen, you can be the best player in the world, but you've got to do your diligence against the ball too. There is no doubt of that. And Alanga's got an unbelievable pace. This must be his best game because he's been in and out the side. There was a lot of hope for him, especially the way Eddie's team play, as I say, on the counter-attack. So him to get 2 goals in Nou Camp, that'll be something he'll remember forevermore. Well, he's given a back healer at the edge of the box. That's what he's done there. He's given it away there.
I knew he wasn't a player, didn't we?
Yeah. But remarkable.
Anyway.
But it's a remarkable
2-2,
thing.
27 minutes gone. Back at the ranch, we're talking about James Tavernier then.
Yeah, I just think playing with 2 strikers, I say Sterling, I think's a better defender. I think Tavernier gives you much more with the quality on the ball. I've always questioned his defending. The game was really, really poor. Anybody that watched it, and I think that's what Danny Rowe speaks very well there. Nobody mentioned the game, how poor the game was. He was talking about positivity. He's trying to keep that in the group, and that's what I'm saying. That's a massive part. You've got to learn that, because you can get in there and you can be negative and say, "Oh, it's the worst game ever." Blah blah. You won, and that's all. Every manager will say, "Well, we never played well today, but we won." Between now and the end of the season, they'll all be delighted if they're saying that every weekend.
Absolutely, that's again, and I'm not old school, right? No. But it's always been about 3 points, right? Because I tell you what, it's nice sitting after a game, like I say, by the way, we're nowhere near our best, but we won and we took 3 points. Tell you what, I enjoyed the beer better when we had wins like that.
But that's when champions do. When they're not playing at their best, you know, it doesn't matter what level you go and see the best in the world. All these teams we're talking about, you know, what happens now even in this Newcastle, Barcelona, it doesn't matter. You know, if Newcastle go and beat Barcelona, nobody's balling if they didn't play well or good or Barcelona were better.
Alanga's going to say he's had the best game ever in his life. Absolutely. 27 minutes in, 2 goals.
All these things. But that's football. That's how we judge it. You know, and that's what I'm saying. Why Danny Rowe's getting questioned about. I know he spent a few shillings, but Rangers need a hell of a lot of money to spend. They needed a lot more. They needed a lot more. And they're still short. Listen, Olsen, I think, still not come up to the qualities we know he's capable of, but he still had assists and whatever. Mikey Moore's playing the position. He's getting the very, very best out of him. There's no doubt in my mind of that. You've got playing with 2 strikers up. And against Celtic in that first half, it could have been out of sight, you know, on a couple of the occasions. But Celtic dug in and they found a way. And Celtic have done that, because Motherwell done that again against them at the weekend.
But they've been posted missing since then. Since the Celtic, the first game, Chamiti and Nadiri.
Absolutely, but that's what I'm saying. So you're saying to yourself then, when are they going to step up? You know they're capable of it. And that's what we're saying about Celtic. You're always waiting on their team performance. It's been outstanding. They've not really had it this season.
But also, that's what I'm saying in terms of Chamiti and Nadiri, if they're going missing. Again, what Chamiti's had a few, to be fair, but chances, opportunities and all that sort of stuff. On the Tavernier situation, Paul, I would always find a way to have Tav in the team. Yeah, I know you would. I think it's a no-brainer. You find positions and you find a way to get your better players in. And you look at I'm not worried about defensively, because Rangers need to win every single game between now and the end of the season. What he can do in an offensive situation is much higher reward. So if he's not going to play as a right fullback, then you know what? And Skov Olsen, and they're saying, mate, push him a little bit further forward. You can bring Sterling in, no problem, but you always have Tavernier for me in the remaining 8 fixtures, 100%.
I see that Rangers have announced this afternoon, they say, we can confirm that following recent events, the club has decided to delay the launch of the season ticket hospitality renewals for next season by around a week. This will allow the renewal communication to take place with the focus it deserves. Revised timings will be confirmed shortly. So I take it then it's about allocation at the Celtic games. I'm just looking there because that was nearly goal number 3.
I was offside, Paul.
Sorry.
But otherwise, Paul.
So on that one, is it to wait to see if they're going to announce the allocations for the Celtic game next season?
Listen, again, timing is really, really important, I guess, with season tickets. Results in the league and the right time, because there's nothing worse. You release something on the back of a poor performance, a poor result. They know better than me, is what I'm trying to say there.
Peter, what do you think on that?
Yeah, I'd just be ashamed, Paul, if it went back to square one again. I really would be. I mean, I think Rangers deserve tickets for the last game at Celtic Park. There's no, I agree with that. They should get their allocation.
I think they are, aren't they?
I'm not.
Has it not been
confirmed?
Well,
I'm
you're
not
never
sure
sure these days.
confirmed. That's what I'm saying. You hear different stories from it, so I think it should be confirmed because it's like everyone else. You want the supporters there, and maybe I thought it was maybe something to do with the fact of that. Well, listen, if there's people going to be banned, why would we sell tickets and they can buy it if they find they've been in trouble?
They'll find a way as well.
You know, that's maybe certain situations that could happen for that as well. So I'm hoping that we see sense and it's better policed and whatever round about it. And I'd love the supporters to stay there because the atmosphere prior to all the carry-on was excellent.
Football without fans is
nothing.
So we're careering towards it, Craig. We have got to watch what people are the positions they're taking. Come on, we need fans at the football grounds.
Take Celtic Rangers out. When they go to play away and you see tarpaulin in seats that Celtic and Rangers would be filling, I find it absolutely mind-blowing.
Yep.
I really do. And we talk about money in Scottish
Of course,
football.
clubs that are really scrimping.
Really do. I
Yeah.
find it mind blowing. And listen, they all make excuses why they do it and why they don't do it. It is ridiculous, and it's poor for the televisions as well when they see it, because everybody's saying, "Well, why was the Celtic support not there?"
Yeah.
You know, but when there's an atmosphere there, it lifts everything.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand if people are causing problems. Yes, I understand 100% of dealing with that, but definitely should have that option of filling these stands.
It's important for football, and again, so I'll just come away for Scotland just for 2 seconds, right? So Australia got some lovely stadiums, 50, 60,000 stadiums and all that sort of stuff for the A-League.
Yeah.
But the fans aren't filling those stadiums because it's not a mature market in terms of supporter bases and all that sort of stuff. So on television, it's a really poor look.
Yeah.
It's a really poor look.
It does look, yeah.
You know, so different kind of situations, but the same kind of thing. Fans make our game. If you can fill the stadiums, and we need to make sure that the protocols are in place to make sure that people are safe and that people aren't breaking the rules.
Yeah, 100%.
We're going to go on the lines next. Going to take a quick break. It's still Barcelona 2, Newcastle 2 after 34 and a half minutes. It's incredible. And Newcastle came really close a few moments ago. Did you say it was offside?
Yep.
Okay, quick break, and then we're going back on the lines. That's next.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
Can't wait to the football this weekend. What's going to happen at the top? Hearts against Dundee at 3. Rangers Aberdeen 5:45 Saturday. And then Dundee United Celtic on Sunday at 12:30. Paul will be, no doubt, I would imagine, big Rangers fan at Ibrox on Saturday. Good evening, Paul.
Evening, Paul. I always there to follow my team.
Yeah.
Just before I make my point it's about Derek Cornelius. But am I right in saying, Paul, see, no to harbour on about it, but the Scottish Cup quarter-final with Rangers and Celtic, there was no nets up separating the fans, because see if that's the case, I find that a bit jaw-dropping, to be honest, because I'm all about well-being and everything else.
Yeah,
as well.
I think most people are. Absolutely, Paul. I don't know the answer on that, but I've heard some people say it. But yeah, so yeah.
I find that a bit, honestly, the Rangers, I think they should have picked that up. Anyway,
Yeah.
my point being, I don't know where Craig knows more about this, but talking to Rangers, pals and things like that, it was a bit about Derek Cornelius. Now, we got him in loan, Canadian internationalist, comes with experience, and I'm hearing that he went on international duty when he was apparently injured, came back, and it's caused basically Rangers just said they're trying to move your young team now, you're not getting in. Is there truth to that? If so, it's a loss, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, again, you're right.
Yeah.
I seen that the other day that was reported, but I've not found out whether or not it's been confirmed. But again, I've seen the same reports that Cornelius was meant to be training with the young lads. So, and again, until I knew if it was true or not, it's just very hard to comment.
Yeah.
What I will say is, obviously, he come in, he looked as if he was not bad. He would give that natural kind of balance. And for whatever reason, injuries and what have you, hasn't worked out. He's still thought of about the national team. So that tells you the opinion that they still have of him. He's a lone player, so in terms of the future for Rangers, he's probably not going to be there. And you'd never know what's quite in the contracts, Paul, as well, in terms of appearances and what can potentially trigger something else.
See, Manny Fernandez was chosen today for the Super Eagles. So he's in
Nigeria,
the squad.
I've seen
indeed.
that. First time.
He's in there. Yeah. Well done to him. He's made his decision. Yeah.
Well, it's not. Listen, we can all say about him. Barry Fry, obviously
Of course,
at Peterborough, used to say, "Well, your Rangers will treble their money on him."
That's right.
And Barry's no mug. He's been about the game for a long time, and I see he's getting linked with West Ham United.
Not Barry, no.
No, not Barry. But that's his mate. It's there, Sullivan. But he's been mentioned with West Ham United. And listen, you can see it because he's really aggressive. The biggest thing I've got for the top level, he takes a chance, and you give these strikers, and you've always got to talk about players, because what would Rangers be looking for now? I don't know what they played from 4 or 5 million. They'd be wanting 12 million or whatever, if any of the bigger guns come in for them. So they'd be looking for that. But these boys are looking for centre halves that's not going to take chances, even though, yes, he can play, yes, he's quick, but if he keeps getting caught in dilly-dallying in possession, there's a time you're going to lose games down there. And that's the fine line you've got with Fernandez for me. He's done it, he's got better, his concentration looks better in games. And I think he could end up being a top player for Rangers, and he's really, really aggressive at set plays.
Paul, you must admire the way he gets. He's a real threat for defenders at the other end of the pitch.
Paul, I would take Manny Fernandez, despite what Peter's saying there, because I do get so hard in the mouth sometimes with the kind of just kick the ball out, but he pulls it back a wee bit. But I'd take him every day over John Souttar. I know I'm more about Tavernier and I'm now onto the Souttar kind of thing, but Souttar needed to be dropped, Paul, because see when he came back for his injury, I said in the show, and Barry disagreed with me a wee bit, but he cost us points when he came back. There's always a mistake in John Souttar, and if we're to win a league, by the way, and we're going to places like Tynecastle or Parkhead, you need guys on their game, and that's where I feel it's the same with Cornelius, because I'd take Cornelius over Jigger. I'd have had Fernandez and Cornelius.
Yeah, people liked him.
So
sure.
it's a good balance, Paul. You're right, but listen, I mean, centre half pairings, and especially if you're going to go as two, should complement one another. And
who's your favourite one?
Certainly
for you?
be different in terms of.
Listen, Rangers,
I was crying out early doors. Fernandez, Rangers paid $3 million. I think it was, Peter, maybe $3 million, right? And then for whatever reason, he wasn't playing. I mean, his profile is excellent, right? So he's a real threat. He can defend in terms of his own box, but cause a lot of problems in the opponent's box. Yeah, he can be a little bit lackadaisical and that sort of stuff, but I think that will come with experience and will improve. I don't believe he's a £30 million player yet. No. Absolutely not, but there's no reason why he couldn't come to that, whether it's this move or the next move. But it's about playing. He's playing regular, and it's also getting the same, not the same, a partner that you like says complement one another. I go back to myself and Lorenzo Amoruso. Lorenzo was physically an absolute machine, right? So he used to want to go and try and nick things in front, right? Which was great. It was great because a lot of the time he did, and then all of a sudden, Rangers were on the front foot. If he didn't, I was in a slightly covering position in case he didn't win that one. So we were different types of players. Lorenzo loved the 50-yarder diagonal, that sort of stuff, where I was maybe just try and pick barrier or try and hit a further midfielder forward in the feet. You need people that are able to work well together. Giga looks as if he's, again, come in solidly, been a couple of clean sheets, so that's a great spot to be able to build on. But Fernandez needed time. And sometimes at Rangers or Celtic, Peter, time.
Well,
managers asking for time, players asking for time.
Yeah. When he came to Rangers, obviously I was watching with Peter, but I was saying it was the supporters were saying, and what we seen at the start was exactly what Peter brought. Supporters, they were delighted he went. Even they said because he could win us so many games with his defending, but he cost us so many. Because his decision making at times, and you can see that in his performances. But there's definitely a player there, and if you can get that, I know what I think he really needs. He needs a stable centre back, as you said, Craig. I always think that's an important position. See if you've got an experienced centre back with a young one who's good, like Fernandez, having somebody there, like say somebody at John Souttar's age. I know John's been difficult because I agree with you, Paul. I think he's had a difficult season. I think it's been a lot for during the Russell Martin time. That he taken a lot of criticism and whatever, and I think he didn't handle that particularly well. And then he said his injuries, unfortunately. So I understand that. But I think if you've got a solid partner at that age along with him, Fernandez, telling him do this, do that, he'd become a much better player, and that's why I think he could be at the next level.
Yeah, and you know what? You know why automatically will make central defenders better, in my opinion, right? Is just being more positive. Don't go back to your goalkeeper unless you absolutely have to, because you see so many goals conceded on the back of going back to your goalkeeper from a really good position on the halfway line, and you end up then coughing something up. Be positive, pass the ball forward. And the expectation, Paul, at Rangers should be is getting the ball, get it forward, playing your opponent's half and all that. This going back to your goalkeeper. And by the way, Jack Butland, as good as what he has been, he's not great with his feet. No. He's not great with his feet. So why do you want to keep going back to your goalkeeper? Go forward. Be positive.
Paul?
100%.
Yep.
Paul, can I just say, that's exactly what I was saying to my mate at the game the other day. See, when Jack Butland's got the ball at his feet, he's literally nearly crossing his own line. He's under pressure. He doesn't like it. So, why? Craig, I was saying exactly the same words you're saying. I said, why do we constantly? There's no need to pass the ball back. Absolutely no need to pass it back, and we keep doing that. And I could see Danny Rowe on the lines
saying, get the ball up. It was going off ahead. I don't know if that coached into you, Craig. Is that hard to get out you?
Paul, I tell you what.
Giovanni from Brockhurst, we did that a lot under the...
Okay.
Again, this is going back a long time and all that sort of stuff. But it's very, very simple and easy to get out of the game, or certainly get defenders and players thinking differently. Is in the games and all that sort of stuff, the training games and all that. There's no going back to the goalkeeper. You just cut it out.
Their best performance was against Celtic. They made it really difficult for Celtic
Played
because they
in the
kicked the
half.
ball long. Played in Celtic's half
Second balls.
and won second balls in Celtic's half and get crosses in.
Peter, that's what Walter Smith used to say.
Yeah,
am I right in saying Walter Smith used to say, turn the Celtic defence, put the ball right in, turn the defence, because no defender wants to do that.
Absolutely.
Because normally the two Celtic central defenders were absolute giants, and maybe not as nimble. So get in behind them, make them move their feet.
Exactly.
Paul, you're going to be at the game. What's going to happen then on Saturday? Rangers Aberdeen. You confident?
Oh, Paul, it'll be a tough game. I'm going to go 1-0 or 2-1 because Stephen Robinson will have Aberdeen well drilled. I really rate Stephen Robinson. I know he's had a sticky time in the league with St Mirren, but the guy has had St Mirren in the top 6 for the last couple of years.
Sure. But if you're going to win the title, Paul, and obviously you exactly. Aberdeen 30 points, Rangers double the points. You've got 60. I mean, there's no excuses, isn't there? Not. You need to go and win.
Not. Don't pass back, Paul. We can't be passing back.
Right.
We've got to be moving forward.
But you're not the only team with that.
Paul,
I mean,
the supporters will let Rangers players know that they need to be going forward, and we should be beating Aberdeen at home if we've got any chance to go and win a title.
A few teams get caught out with the pass back, don't they? It happened to Celtic with the Motherwell goal.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
Right. Listen, what's happening? Let's
I'm
update you.
I'm giving you a penalty kick. I'm saying the referee's got to look at it. And I think Kieran Trippier, for his experience, if he's pulled the player...
Rafinha pulled it.
He's got inside him. And if he goes to
he's
look...
going to go.
Yeah, it's a penalty
Go
kick.
and watch it.
He just pulled him.
It's 2-2, as you know, Paul. This is the 4th minute of injury time. We're about to go in 2-2. We saw Joan Laporta there, the president, who's just been re-elected another 5 years.
Is that how long they get?
That's what it's got.
5 years.
Just
okay.
A couple of days ago. I know, I'm right up to date with my
good. Yeah. No,
Barcelona.
always very good, Paul. Your
there in
information.
Google. No, it's amazing what you can pick up here. No, actually, I remember, of course, Peter, you were over there probably. No, you'd gone from Celtic at that point. He was there. He was when Celtic.
No, I never played against Barcelona, pal.
Sure,
I know. Not at that time. Thank God I didn't, because there was a few scutcheons in there.
And Ramsey, you talk about getting caught out before, and he got caught out just a few moments ago, but they blasted over the bar. It is going to be a penalty, we reckon, any second now. But
how long's the check going on for?
Exactly.
I can't understand. The referee's looked at it. I don't know what else he's looking for. Because he's definitely the opposite side of him.
He's coming. Here he goes.
Well, let's see if we're correct.
He does the TV thing and he points at the penalty spot.
Stone Waller, it could be a red card.
He's yellow.
See on that again. So the penalty is given for a defender pulling out the attacking player that could go and score.
Yeah.
Is that not meant to be a red card?
Well, that's what I said. Well, look at Motherwell on Saturday against Celtic.
Well,
he
did get sent off. Kind of felt like a little bit double jeopardy.
But
I thought that was a ruling.
Well, I thought that was a ruling as well.
I need to get the rule book out.
Is that not unfair though? Because that's a double
jeopardy.
Yeah, it's a double thing. Listen, Paul, thanks so much for your call. Stay for a second. We'll let you know about this penalty as you drive home from work today. You'll be going there on Saturday. Your scoreline, you reckon, what, 2-0, 2-1, 5-0? What do you think? He's gone. He's not.
There.
On you go.
I'm going to go for... I would be optimistic, Paul. I'm going to go for 10-0 Rangers. 5-0 Rangers.
I'll tell you
by
what.
the way, goal difference could be
Of course. Well, exactly.
Sunday.
Sure.
So,
You know, Hearts are plus 27, Celtic plus 24, Rangers plus 27. So you're same as Hearts. And I think that's what got Danny Rowell at the weekend. He wanted more goals, as you can imagine. So, yep. Listen, Paul, thank you. So, yep.
Can I say one last thing?
Go on.
One last thing.
Yeah.
We've got to take advantage. I mean, look, it could be written in the stars. I know no titles are written in the stars, but it could be that Martin O'Neill wins it for Park after 25 years ago and whatever. But what Rangers have got to also look at is Martin O'Neill's team, every single person that year would have put their mortgage on Celtic winning that league because Chris Sutton went 1-0 up and all that stuff.
Sure.
but they still lost it. So we've got to believe that Martin O'Neill didn't get Celtic over the line that time.
Okay, good bit
That
of
might still be his
psychological warfare going on there, Paul. And why not? You might need it against Martin O'Neill. You never know.
Celtic won it in goal difference, Paul, in 1986. If you want to talk about goal difference, and Hearts were at the top for a long time. So,
Paul, you're quite right. Throw it in there. Listen, we're going to go to a break in a moment
Goal
or two.
difference as well.
What happened with the penalty? Yeah,
Yamal.
Cheers, Paul.
I think there was only one winner.
Yeah, indeed. So Yamal comes up 5 goals in 8 matches. So he's getting on now, isn't he? He's 18. He'll be 19 in the summer.
Yeah.
Isn't it
Back
amazing?
on the younger players.
Go
Paul.
on. Yes.
17, 18.
Yes.
No matter what club you're at.
Yep.
If you're good enough, you're in about that first team.
Yeah.
If you're not, get yourself out somewhere else and start playing senior football. They stay too long.
Yep, I agree with you. Max Dowman,
So he can stay. He can
some
stay.
goal,
6
wasn't it? Look at that. I mean, it's outrageous, the confidence that he had. Yeah.
But the clubs,
Yeah.
I know there's pressures on managers now, but at the end of the day, you've got. That's why I think, Paul, they're all getting kept at the clubs, not getting allowed to outplay because they need so many substitutes. That's the problem.
I know. Yep.
Because if you take your best players and you have no substitutes, and why are you having 7 or 8? Remember, these substitutes were only supposed to be for COVID.
That's right. So why has it not been rolled back?
I
and
cannot
changed?
believe, Paul.
Yeah.
If they want to do it in the Premier League, fine.
Yep.
But see, for other clubs, it should be back to 2-3 subs, so players get an opportunity. One, to go out and loan if the clubs want to keep them, or they go to other clubs to play.
But
And
you
then
can
I think you
educate
see a
them.
better standard then.
Peter, but I think managers can play a really important role in educating these younger players that are good enough, right, to play. And it might not mean that they're starting and getting loads of minutes because it's difficult, that breakthrough and lots of stuff. But there's no reason why they can't be about the stadium, the arena, and experience it, maybe out for a warm-up and all that sort of stuff. There's other ways that you can educate players so that they're ready when they do get that opportunity. They're that scared to throw in younger players.
I just think back to, Paul, how I get my debut.
Yep.
I was nowhere in the first team squad, anything like that. And I got a phone call because someone tamed not well. And all of a sudden I'm playing at Ibrox.
On the Saturday.
On the Saturday morning. So that's how it came.
Yep.
They'd need to be, I don't know, COVID would need to strike again with 10 players out for somebody to get an opportunity out of nowhere.
Where were you at the time?
I'd been to Mass in the morning, as I always did on a Saturday morning for Mass. We're playing Airdrie reserves. I remember as if it was yesterday. I was playing Airdrie reserves and I got back home. My mother says to us, God rest her, that you listen, you have to get into Celtic Park a little bit earlier. The great Bob Lennox had phoned. Yeah. And I thought the game was an hour earlier. So I went in the bus. I went in the bus.
You got the
my
bus?
Mum.
Yeah,
went in the bus. Yeah. And then all of a sudden we get there and I go to Bill Peacock's at the front
Of
door
course,
at
Big
that time.
Bill. I remember him.
And obviously again, and Brian's, wee Bob Lennox and Jimmy Johnson, two absolute legends, came towards me but smiling and just said, you'll get your first breather at 10 o'clock tonight. Bear in mind they're my coaches in the reserves and I'm 17 at the time. So I'm like, hey. And again, and they said, Brian Scott comes and says, the manager wants to see you in the physio room. And I go in and there's nobody there. And I thought, oh, this is a wind-up. You know, the usual football stuff. And I've come in and I'm just ready to walk back out. And the great Davy Hay comes in and says, all right, son. And this is his exact words. You're playing over at Ibrox today. If I didn't think you could do it, I wouldn't be asking you. And walked out. And I swore at him, started sobbing. I started sobbing because I'd never even trained with the first team. And then 2 hours later, I'm running out to Ibrox. Wow. That's how it happened. That can't happen now because there's that many people in front of you. They just shout to somebody in the stand now. You've got 8 subs there anyway, and they just get brought down onto the bench. I get brought in and played. Bear in mind, I hadn't even trained with them. And thankfully, the way it did happen for me, because I'd probably been a nervous wreck. They're afraid I told me on Friday, but I had nothing to do with it. But it was because someone was, and they players are not going to get that chance now.
Craig, what a moment for him, eh?
No, it's incredible, and it's an unusual kind of moment because I'm talking about trying to prepare him, and you know, like I had preparation, Paul, because I was training with the first team.
Sure.
He hadn't trained. He's gone in, you know. But again, I think in terms of these type of talents, Peter, I think clubs can do so much better in getting them ready, right? They don't do enough, and then you wonder why players kind of their head starts to turn a little bit. But I still believe 17, 18, no matter what club you're at, if you're good enough, you should be dipping your toe in and around about the first team. If you're not, and the club are telling you that you're great, but you're not near that, then I'm out the door because I want to play football, and I think that's key in terms of the decision making for younger players.
Well, that was the thing for us, Paul. See, at 17 or 18, see if there was a guy in front of you who was better than you, and you thought you were next, that was fine, you'd be staying. See if there was a guy below you who was a little bit younger, but they thought he was just as good as you, you would be going.
You were out.
Aye.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter how good you were. I mean, you look at the great Aberdeen side, and I keep using that, the Bobby Calder tournament in Glasgow,
course, yeah.
and it was all Glasgow boys, predominantly West East
That's where they
Scotland
get
boys.
Willie Miller, Alec
Well,
McLeish.
McLeish, you name it, Joe Miller,
Yeah.
you take them all.
Sure.
It was a Bobby Calder tournament, which was the biggest youth tournament. But Sir Alex was cute because Bobby Calder was the great Aberdeen scout. All of a sudden, he's seen the best players. He's picking the ones that's not going to Celtic or Rangers or whatever, and they're all going up. But Hibs had them, Hearts had them. You know, you look at the Hearts team that went to the wire with us, Gary Mackay,
sure.
John Robertson, Davy Bowman, all of them. You know, so they were all Hearts youth players.
Look at the team sheets now.
Exactly.
There's hardly a Scot in there. I'm going to have to take a break. And thank you for making the switch, because even back then, I broke the news that Peter Grant was playing because I was covering it. I was there live from. Do you know what? We were in Edmonstone Drive, I remember, because it was Jimmy Nicholl's last game at Rangers. That's right, wasn't it?
That's correct.
And
they get
so
sent off.
I remember. So we were talking about Jimmy Nicholl beforehand, and I had a hilarious interview with a Rangers fan who said, "Jimmy Nicholl, what a player!" And he said something else as well. It was funny. Can't these days, and it wasn't. So, and also I said the other big news is there's a 17-year-old. Peter Grant is playing for Celtic, and we didn't know Peter Grant, and that was huge news. 2:02, the music was playing, exclusive news from Ibrox. So there was the two big things. Jimmy Nicholl bowing out, in comes Peter Grant. All these years later, I can't get rid of him, Craig. So after the break,
Surprised them asked back.
we're looking at the weekend. What's going to happen? That's coming next.
The Go Radio Football Show with Burger King.
Kevin's on the line now, a Celtic fan. Hi, Kevin. Good evening.
How you doing, boys?
Evening, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
Good, thank you. Kevin, if you can turn the radio down, that'd be great. Come on. Come on, Kevin, you know this. You're nearly on the you're nearly on the payroll here. I'll be phoning HR about you. That's better. Hi, Kevin. What's in your mind tonight?
So I was just listening to Pierre there
Yeah.
talking about the youth setups and the Scottish players coming
Yeah.
through, and I'm just trying to rack my brains as to what the clubs could do. But I honestly think that we need to get to a stage where there should be at least 2 or 3 youth players, or no youth players, but homegrown talents on the bench, and maybe even get to a point where there's an agreement where you need to have played Scottish boys in a certain percentage of games throughout the season, because there's just not enough talent coming through. And I'm not one for buying this. Oh well, if they put the young guys on the bench, it would just to make up the numbers.
Yeah.
The club should be encouraging young boys to come through. Celtic have just lost another boy to Liverpool this week.
I've seen that young defender.
I was talking about that boy on the show last year.
You did, that's right.
About how good he was coming through and listening out for his name. And lo and behold, he'd run in March the next year and he's off ski. Because there's a better path for him. He feels there's a better path for him down south now. I think part of that is to do with there's no reserve football up here. You go down south, you've got the under-23s league. You've got nothing up here for the boys. It's just it's not good enough. I was lucky when I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Like, I've come on the show before, and I've thanked Pierre again for everything he's done for our club. Pierre Grant's a hero in the eyes of the Celtic support. A young homegrown guy coming through. I can't speak for everybody, but I loved people like Pierre Grant and Paul McStay coming through. When they were in the team, I was devastated. But these were young Scottish boys that had this club's best interests at heart, and that's not there anymore. And we need to get back to it because
one easy way to fix it.
Right. So why do they think young Scottish players are not good enough? Because that's what it has to come down to.
As in the clubs here?
Yeah, they're not getting a chance.
No,
we're flannelling around on this one.
Yeah.
There was one Scot on the pitch, Rangers Celtic the other week. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
ridiculous.
But
There's no strong leadership. So why they're not sort of 5-6 years ago, 10 years ago, you did have to have a number of young players under 23s on the bench. Now maybe they were jersey fillers, I know that, on the bench, but with the number of subs on now, they can't have it both
That's
ways.
the thing I was going to say. And Kevin's right in the respect that I'd done that before, and it was only they never put any of them on. But I'm saying to you now, Ben Doak and young Vata.
That's right.
Would they been as good in the wingers as we've seen at Celtic Park than the ones that we've had over the last few years? No, but I'm saying if you give them that, nurture them, give them that chance, Paul.
Yeah.
I think absolutely no doubt, because the more games they get, they become better, they're exciting.
So why did they not? For people just tuning in, I mean, why didn't they? Because who wouldn't want young Scottish players to be developed by your clubs?
But that's an issue that you've got to say then, that's a club issue.
Yeah.
And that's why I think then I would cut the substitutes back all the way back again.
Is nobody
even
listening?
for the first team?
Yeah.
Even for the first team, but I know people are set in their ways now. European games, fine, I've no problem with that. But definitely domestically. Because then I would see a lot of these youngsters who are hanging about football clubs to play in a B team, which is absolutely... They're playing civil service strollers.
Yeah.
No disrespect. Then they'll go and play Real Madrid in a European week and they're getting gubbed 6-0 or something like that. It's a completely different picture you're talking about here. So let them go out, and if they're not good enough for Celtic, we'll soon know. Because they'll either sink or swim. You know, they'll get an opportunity to play with Celtic, or they'll be going out and loan so others can see them. I'm seeing a lot of guys now who will get released with Celtic and Rangers and never see a football jersey again. Bear in mind. Not a football jersey will be back on. They'll chuck it and they'll get into another line of work. And because nobody's seen them play, Paul. But all these players went elsewhere and get games. People were desperate for them. But because there's so many not getting seen, and that's why I say I think the talent will be there. But how can you see talent if it's underneath a brick?
Of course. You can't.
You know, I mean, nobody's going to see it, you know, because you're nobody's going to lift
There's
that
nobody
brick.
shouting about this. Craig, you're going to say?
No, because I was going to say there are clubs, and again, I know it's not Falkirk, for example. 9 of the starting
example.
11 against Dundee United Scottish.
Yep.
7 out of the starting 11 were together in League One. Right? So there's signs that it's possible. There's signs that it's possible. I think the only way you kind of nullify the amount of foreign, and I was a foreign player, but I was in the old foreigner rule when it was only 3.
We've adopted
Right,
you.
that I had to wait and all that sort of stuff as well. The only way you stop it is introduce a quota of foreigners. So in Australia, you still have you're allowed to 5 foreigners. That's it. All right. So then automatically you've got more Scottish people involved in games.
But again, it's up to the clubs to vote for it, isn't it? Kevin, you've made a great point. We bang on about it here. We can't blame anyone else. I was about to say, well, that would take strong leadership. That comes down to the 12 clubs in the Premiership, surely, to vote on these things.
Well, Kevin spoke about it earlier on, Paul. How would Celtic or Rangers make their money? They sold it, talked about them earlier on, Charlie Nicholas, Brian McClare.
Of course.
You know, that's how they sold them.
Yeah.
We'd go to Motherwell. The amount of players Celtic got from Motherwell, the Andy Walkers, Brian McClares, etc. The amount of players Motherwell, Tommy Coyne, all these guys had moved about, but Celtic were buying the best from them. Celtic get Hibs, Scott Brown. You had Whittaker going to Rangers. You had Thompson going to...
Nathan Patterson going down to Everton.
Absolutely. So you had all these boys playing. So there's definitely talent there. But listen, if you don't give them the opportunity, like everything else, and it's so difficult, but I go to games, Paul. I went to Dundee United at the start of the season to watch a pre-season game, just to watch them, and Dundee United never had a Scots player on the pitch.
Not one.
Not one.
I know, absolutely. So
that was
Craig,
it's down to the clubs, right? So if there's a sporting director or a chairman, it's down to the clubs, right? Because if you're the head coach or the manager, Peter, you don't know when you're getting sacked. You don't know. It's not your responsibility. It's the club. There needs to be more within football clubs to say, no, that's what we're all about. These ones are going to get a chance. It's not, like I said, because managers come and go. You can't put that on a manager. You're saying you want to oversee the academy. No, mate, no, I don't, because I could not be here maybe in 6 months' time. That's not their job.
And
it's a club.
It's coming back now to bite us in the bum. Look at the national team. Now, I know people are playing in Italy, for example, in England with the John McGinns and the Andy Robertson, but it's a diminishing band. We can't find a striker, and the keepers, we don't have a top keeper at the moment, and this is only going to get worse. Kevin, don't you think? Still there? He's gone.
Do you
know what I mean? Do you not agree with that?
And Craig said a minute ago about Falkirk. Right. There's Falkirk giving Barney Stewart an opportunity.
Yeah.
Who looks the best striker, as in striker, at this moment in time in Scottish football? Him.
Here's Kevin back. It's Barney Stewart. Yeah, Kevin.
The boy at Falkirk, I mean,
absolutely.
I don't, for the light, I don't understand it. Listen, God bless Lyndon Dykes, he's doing all right. Good big guy, but come on, we need to bleed in these young guys, or they're not going to get a chance. And I'll tell you another thing. See, for the last 22 years, my club's had a Scottish captain. What's going to happen when Callum McGregor retires? I know they don't need to be Scottish, but again, see, as Celtic fans, as a Scottish fan, we crave that connection with our players. That we would love it to be a Scottish captain or an Irish captain. It's not necessary, but we crave that connection, and it's slowly but surely dying out.
It's a great point, Kevin. Kevin, I need to ask you, because we've only got 2 minutes left. Is it going to change this weekend, or do you think it will be wins for your own team? Are you confident to win at Dundee United?
I think we've turned a corner there
Right.
performance-wise. I think Motherwell should give us confidence. And as I said the other day there, if Celtic, Rangers and Hearts win their next games, all the games before they split, Celtic will win the league because we've got Hearts and Rangers at home. Sorry, Craig, but that's the way I feel.
Kevin, thank you.
Here's hoping, Kevin. Here's hoping.
Listen, he always makes some good points. I think there's a great point here about young players. Are the authorities, but not even the authorities, not just the SPFL or the SFA. It's the clubs, isn't it?
I think
it's back to the clubs.
it's the clubs.
Yeah.
I think it's the clubs. Paul, a lot of these clubs, and talking about the bigger clubs, are throwing a hell of a lot of money at the academies.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a bigger boss of that,
Yeah.
then I'm starting to question. So why are we throwing money at that if we're not getting any transition from that investment to our first team?
So the clubs want a return.
Well, I remember.
But is it outweighed by the need to win week by week?
I was in England when Mourinho came to Chelsea.
Yes. Yeah.
And I remember one of the first things he said, and they were asking him about questions about certain things. He said, "Well, why should I be spending at that time was a lot of money, was $4 million on the academy."
Mm-hmm.
He said, when I can just go and see 4 young players at the end of the season, say, there's a defender, there's a goalkeeper, there's an attacker, and there's a midfield player. There you go. There's 4 players for me. I don't need to be spending $4 million on an academy, paying all the wages that I need to do for staff. So why don't I just do that? I'll just go and buy the 4 best young players. And that's what happened. That's what I was talking about Hibs and Motherwell. These players were playing, the Scott Browns and Stephen Whittakers, they were all playing. So Celtic and Rangers can get to see them. Motherwell's Phil O'Donnell, God rest him. All these boys.
Of course. This will continue. 30 seconds to go. Craig, are the leaders all winning this weekend? I'm not trying to lead you. Hearts,
Yes.
Rangers,
Kilmarnock
Celtic.
will win also.
Yep.
Hibs will beat Motherwell.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh,
Sorry.
wow.
Yep.
Peter, what do you think? Hearts, Dundee?
I think all the top 3 will win.
They're going to win. We're out of time. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
A quick couple of hours. Will you come back, both of you, next week?
Oh, I can't wait.
Getting good at this, you too. Thank you so much. Tomorrow night, Kevin Kyle will be here along with Mark Guidi. That's tomorrow night at 5. Thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow at 5.